Hey everyone, I'm Tyler Metcalf, and I watch the film so you don't have to. On this video, we're taking a look at Arizona freshman Dwayne Aristode. Aristode is one of the most unappreciated freshmen in my eyes. I think he deserves to be getting so much more love, and the fact that he ended up ranked as the 38th incoming freshman on ESPN's recruiting database makes no sense to me. Now, the only plausible explanation is that Aristode suffered a foot injury that kept him out of basically his entire senior season at Brewster. But at 6'8", 220 pounds, Aristode is looking like one of the most well-rounded NBA ready wings in the 2026 draft. We're going to dive in, take a look at an elite skill that he brings to the table day one, a couple bankable skills that are solid but still need a little bit of work, and then an area of his game that needs a lot of improvement. Welcome to film school. Let's dive in. One of the most helpful things that you can do when initially scouting a player is to identify what their elite skill is, and for Aristode, it is absolutely his defense. At 6'8", 220 pounds, Aristode already has an elite frame for a modern NBA wing defender. When we look at some of the best wing defenders in the league, like Asar Thompson, who's listed at 6'6", 205, Tumani Kamara listed at 6'7", 229, and OG Anunoby listed at 6'7", 240, Aristode's frame and athleticism fit right in with that. But on top of that, on top of the awesome physical skills, Aristode also implements really high level off-ball awareness, good defensive playmaking chops, disciplined and instinctual defense with his footwork, his rotations, and he's not afraid of physicality where he'll slide his feet, defend with his chest, and really knock players off their lines. As we can see here, we see him sitting down in a stance, sliding his feet. I love how he just effortlessly flips his hips open like this. Ball handler crosses back middle. Aristode does a great job of just opening up his hips, staying low, sliding his feet, taking the contact in the middle of his chest to disrupt the ball handler, allows his teammate to come in for the help dig. They poke the ball loose. Now they're going the other way. Again, here we see Aristode gain low in a low wide stance, great balance, getting up into the ball handler, and just the footwork here is fantastic. It's really special stuff right from the start. And he's reactive, he's on the balls of his feet, not diving in, not reaching, not gambling, being indecisive, takes that contact right to the middle of the chest again, doesn't allow the ball handler to create any sort of separation as he rises up. Aristode just gets the hand in his face, tries to disrupt it as much as possible without fouling, without gambling, and trying to make a mistake and bailing his assignment out. Similar thing here again, low stance, sliding his feet on balance, doesn't bite at all the head fakes, all the herky-jerky dribbling, just stays in front of him, stays disciplined, implements his fundamentals. Again, hand high in the face. He knows that he's not going to block this. So instead of trying to block it and bailing him out with a foul or sliding under him, just hand up, get in his face, force the tough shot. Even on this one, I love how as he closes out here, we can see him just slip a little bit. So good closeout, really good job here by the ball handler to attack that high foot. And initially, Aristode just knee buckles a little bit, but we can see the physical tools and how good his feet are as he just recovers in the blink of an eye really quickly. So even though he loses his balance there a little bit, a lot of players would be out of this play because they'd lose their balance. They might even fall over, but Aristode's able to regain it really quickly, has to turn his hips parallel to the baseline. We don't love that, but in this instance where he is beat and he has to play to immediately get into recovery mode, he does a great job of then getting back rim side, staying low in that stance, and then opening up his feet. So he's then sliding and staying on balance, taking the contact in the middle of his chest, keeping the ball handler away from the rim, and forcing the tough mid-range pull-up. Similar thing here, just the physicality, sitting down in his stance, forces the travel here. It's the discipline that we don't tend to see from players his age. But then we also see him incorporate some really fun weak side rim protection. This should be a layup 99 times out of 100. Aristode has other ideas, rotates over, gets the block. I think Ref calls a foul there. Tough call, but I love the timing here. I love the showcase of his athleticism. Yeah, he could be there half a step sooner, but great athleticism, great timing. I think that's a clean block, but the ref disagreed. Regardless, we can get a solid taste of what Aristode looks like as that low man roaming the baseline, especially when we think about Arizona's defense and the type of ground that he'll have to cover, especially since Arizona lost awesome defenders like Henry Vasar and KJ Lewis and Carter Bryant last year. And then finally here, we see JL3 run this empty corner pick and roll. Aristode's up here on the opposite elbow, and Aristode sees his teammate fall down. I believe that's London Jemison's now left in no man's land, 2-on-1 situation. Good job by the ball handler getting him to commit. Great pocket pass. Again, this should be an easy 2 points the vast majority of the time, but Aristode does a great job of collapsing down, timing his jump to perfection, high pointing the ball, and pinning it against the glass. He has no business making that play, but it's the type of thing that he did consistently. When we look at elite skills for players, for Aristode, it is 100% his defense. And not only is it an elite skill for him, it's one of the elite skills in the entire class as we enter the season. Next, it's really important to identify the bankable skills. And those are ones that still need some work, but you're pretty confident are going to be at least average as the player scales up in competition. And the two for Aristode are his spot-up shooting and his passing. I want to start with the spot-up shooting because I think he's going to be a really reliable outlet with Arizona, playing off of the athleticism of guys like Koa Pete, Jaden Bradley, the shooting of Anthony Del Rosso. And while Aristode missed his whole senior season at Brewster, we still have 17 games via synergy with Expressions Elite, and Aristode shot 36.4% from three off the catch and ranked in the 82nd percentile in shooting off the catch. Not elite numbers, but pretty good. And as we can see in these attempts, he's got a solid, high, consistent release. He's on balance, good base, fluid form, great release point. When he's on platform from a standstill, the shot looks really good. And that alone, as a corner three-point shooter, as a reliable spot-up option, as an outlet, Aristode looks like he can at least hold his own in that area and be a reliable play finisher from the perimeter, playing off of more dynamic on-ball creators. The other bankable skill for Aristode looks to be his passing, not from a primary playmaking standpoint, but as a connecting passer and a secondary or tertiary creator who's able to attack closeouts, run an empty corner pick and roll, push in transition, and create for others based on what the defense gives. So the overall playmaking from Aristode in those 17 games with Expressions Elite mostly came in these off-ball rolls where he was attacking a rotating defense and then also incorporating a bit of flair and creativity to set up his teammates while showcasing an ability to find weak side shooters or cutters in the lane. He wasn't a prolific playmaker, but a turnover rate of just 12.6 and an assist to turnover ratio of 1.1 is pretty encouraging for a guy with as few on-ball reps as he had. So as we can see here, just does a nice job getting into the middle of the floor against the zone as he receives the pass. He's immediately looking over his shoulder, identifies the big rotating up to him immediately. So all his read, he knows he's not going to have a shot here. He also doesn't want to be taking a heavily contested mid-range jumper, so he's just reading the weak side here. He knows he has his teammate in the dunker spot and teammate in London Jemison, awesome three-point shooter, out here on the wing, so he's just reading what this wing defender is going to do. As he turns over his shoulder, he immediately identifies that the wing defender's collapsing down. He's staring down his teammate and just delivers a no-look pass out to the wing, right on the money to set up the wide open three. Here we see him run off a screen, and now we're seeing a little bit more of the decisive straight line drive and ability to attack a defender's high foot, attack their closeout, and go against their momentum. So as the defender closes out, tries to get low, Aristode does a great job, a little jab step, attack against his momentum, attack that high foot. At that same time, this defender's going away from the lane, this defender's going away from the lane, and Aristode's able to attack downhill, forcing the weak side defender to either stay home and give up the dunk or step to Aristode and leave his man in the dunker spot. Defender steps up. Aristode does a great job quickly reading that, making the easy dump off, setting up the open dunk. Here, a little bit more of a primary initiator role, at least early in the offense here, and he's just going to go set up a little empty corner DHO, empty corner pick and roll, gives it a little give and go with his teammate, and as he comes off the screen, his defender struggles initially to get over, but while also the drop defender is giving Aristode that space. So they're not switching this. They're allowing Aristode to basically attack one-on-one, but as he comes off the screen and gets his initial defender on his hip, now the help defender has to rotate over, and Aristode's engaged two of them. But at that same time, since they're both late to cut off that drive, Aristode's able to get down to the block, which forces the weak side rotation over here. So if we back it up just a little bit, we see the low man. His man's over here in the corner. As Aristode attacks downhill, Aristode's teammate does a really nice job of setting a back screen on his man to free up Jemison, who's lifting up out of the corner. Aristode attacks baseline, reads the weak side defender, sees the other weak side defender staying with his primary man down on the block, does a great job of layering that pass through the traffic right to his teammate for the wide open three. Little handoff, catches the defender cheating. The explosiveness on these jab steps and drives from Aristode is a lot of fun, and I love how quickly he recognizes that the defender's trying to cheat and cut off this drive, or the relocation, as he tries to circle to the top of the key, and instead, Aristode does a great job planting that foot, splitting the defender's little push dribble through traffic, gets the rim protector to step up, little shovel pass, great job changing the angle there, quick live dribble shovel pass to his teammate in the dunker spot, easy 2 points. Empty corner pick and roll, jab step, gets the switch, now attacks middle, gets really low, explodes off that left foot, secures it through the help dig, forces multiple rotations, and the defense actually does a pretty good job here of rotating over, cutting off that drive, suffocating him, but Aristode keeps his balance, recognizes it, doesn't try and force a bad shot or anything like that, and he knows that as this, is that number 2 or 7? Regardless, as this defender, number 2, rotates over from the corner shooter, Aristode knows that now he has one teammate above the break, one in the corner, and as his drive gets cut off, he's just reading what the defender in the long sleeve white shirt is doing. He identifies him collapsing down to the corner shooter, kicks out to his teammate above the break. Wide open three doesn't fall, but really, really good process. So from a off-ball creator standpoint, there's a lot of really fun upside with Aristode's passing, playmaking, floor vision that if the next area that we're going to look at takes a massive improvement, now we're talking about him emerging out of just a off-ball wing, off-ball creator into something a little more prominent. To round out the scouting report, we have to dive into some of the improvement areas, and that's with Aristode's on-ball creation, handle, and movement shooting. And those are the big holes in his game. Now, his ball security overall is okay, but the handle gets a little loose. He leaves it a little too far away from his body and can get out of control a little bit too much. And that's really highlighted in the lack of on-ball reps where he only had 13 possessions each as the pick-and-roll ball handler or in isolation, each accounting for just 6.1% of his total possessions. On top of that, the movement shooting needs a lot of work. Now, he's really reliable. We covered how reliable he is as a standstill shooter. But if he really wants to take that leap as a shooter and scorer, either in an on-ball or off-ball rep or standpoint. He needs to get so much better. He only took in his 17 games with expressions, he only took 23 dribble jumpers and shot 13% on them. It's simply not good enough. So there are a lot of holes in Aristode's on-ball creation that's going to limit what type of ceiling he has on his career. And this is an area where he should be able to bully ball, get to his spot, but instead he just leaves that ball really exposed, allows his defender to swipe it far too easily, forces a turnover, easily avoidable. Again, as he drives into traffic here, so we saw in those passing clips how good he can be when he attacks closeouts, gets into the middle of the floor, but the flip side of that coin is that if he's not really attentive and disciplined with his ball security, stuff like this is going to happen way too much. I mean, good hands by the defender here, but a little too careless by Aristode. I think he was trying to make that skip pass, which would have been a really, really sexy pass, but got to hang on to the ball long enough to make it. And really similar thing here. An empty corner pick and roll. I like the intention of denying the screen here off the bat, but ref gets a little in the way. Good hands by the defender again, but he's just not protecting the ball at all. And he has to be better with his right shoulder, shielding that ball a little bit more. If the defender's going to reach across your body like that aggressively, you have to have the ball more protected to either not allow the poke away at all, or at very least draw a foul out of situations like that. Just out of control, no plan. And then when we get into the movement shooting stuff, the biggest issue, and his mechanics are generally solid, but he tends to just drift out of his shot a little too much with his upper body. The balance isn't necessarily there consistently when he's off platform, and the footwork here is not ideal. Ends up doing a good job of getting pretty square here, but we also see him drifting and falling out of his shot a lot. Results in erratic misses. When he's on platform, it looks really good, but we just see him drifting to the side there a little bit, falling back, falling out of his shot, screwing up his balance. Similar thing right there. And there's no need to fade in this situation. We just see that angle of his upper body falling away. It's unnecessary. It speaks to stuff that can be fixed with reps and improved experience and strength and balance and core training. In the long run, I'm not too worried about it. I think he'll get to a point where it's at least capable or, at least average. But in the short term, it could be a major hindrance or hurdle that he'll have to overcome, either in his freshman year or first couple years in the pros. So where does that leave us with Dwayne Aristode? At 6'8", 220 pounds, Aristode already has the frame and the physical tools of an ideal NBA wing defender. On top of that, he already has the fundamentals, the instincts, the awareness, the physicality that coaches dream of their wing defenders possessing. He can guard anyone on the floor right now. That's awesome. And that elite skill is more than enough to have him be a first round, potential top 20 type of consideration. But then we factor in his passing and his spot up shooting, and we start to see the two-way impact that he could really have at the next level. Now, Aristode still has to get more effective, more comfortable, more consistent as a movement and pull-up shooter, and really tighten up his handle. He doesn't need to improve those things to be a primary creator, because that threshold is almost impossibly high to break through at an NBA level. And that's not who Aristode is as a player. However, if he really does take a major leap in the next couple of years with that movement shooting, with his handle, the type of impact that he could have in an NBA rotation grows from a really well-rounded wing contributor to a potential top 3 option. Those guys get paid. Those guys stay in the league for a very long time, and those guys win a lot of games. So don't look at Dwayne Aristode's high school ranking of 38th and be like, he's fine. I'll get to him when I get to him. Dive into his tape now, because he's incredibly fun, incredibly underappreciated, and for me, one of the most well-rounded and exciting wings for the 2026 NBA draft.